back, man, and it's time to get back to business with the number one pro wrestling show here in North America. Rhea Ripley, the last time we seen her, she beat Shayna Baszler. She did the impossible and beat Shayna Baszler and became the NXT Women's Champion. What is next for Rhea Ripley, and what challenges does she face going on into 2020? The Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, one of my favorite NXT events all year, begins with 8 teams, 4 from NXT and 4 from NXT UK. Who is going to come out on top in the first round of the Dusty Classic? And big man Keith Lee. Who doesn't love Keith Lee? Keith Lee, Cameron Grimes, Dominik Dijakovic, and Damien Priest battle it out in a fatal 4-way to find out who the number one contender is for the NXT North American Championship and Roderick Strongman. NXT starting the year off right here on Off the Script.
5, delete! Too smart.
Alive with it. People still What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here for NXT on Off the Script. We are reviewing last night's show, January 8th, 2020, back at Full Sail University, back into the swing of things and building towards the next TakeOver show, which will be TakeOver Portland on February 16th. Good show, as always, from NXT last night, like I highlighted in the intro. We have a lot to go over. Rhea Ripley faces new challenges now that she is the top female in all of NXT with a roster with that women's division. The depth is just unbelievable, man. Where is her next challenge going to come from? And NXT is quick to find out who her number one contender is going to be, because next week we're getting a Battle Royal. Some interesting developments with that Battle Royal, and that will serve as who will challenge Rhea Ripley at TakeOver Portland. Johnny Gargano and Finn Balor. Obviously, there is shit that needs to be taken care of there. They're headed for TakeOver Portland as well. I can't wait to see those two battle it out. But the story is, Balor took out Johnny. Johnny doesn't die. Balor says Johnny, if he's lucky, he might get a match at TakeOver Portland. He's just got to get there first. What that means, I don't know. But I can't wait to see how that develops as well. The Dusty Tag Team Classic, I got my thoughts on that. We got a battle between Undisputed Era and Gallus, NXT UK Tag Team Champions, and the NXT Tag Team Champions. Should be a great match. Imperium as well goes up against the Forgotten Sons, who had a great showcase in last year's Dusty Classic. What could they do this year? And then Keith Lee, WWE needs to continue building the momentum of Keith Lee as we head on into 2020, and him becoming the number one contender for the NXT North American Championship is the right thing to do. Him winning the championship is the right thing to do. I would have given him the World Championship, but I don't think WWE is at that level yet. So obviously they have loose ends to tie up pretty much with Adam Cole and Tommaso Ciampa, but Keith Lee winning the secondary title and keeping that momentum solid and strong is a great plan B. So hopefully WWE does the right thing. Keith Lee, after everything we've seen, I don't think anybody's more over right now in NXT than Keith Lee. So we'll see what happens as they move forward with him moving on to TakeOver Portland. Thank you guys so much for joining me and pretty much supporting the podcast. As always, every single week, we're here every single Thursday talking NXT. If you missed my AEW review last night, make sure you guys go and check it out. I ranted pretty hard on the NXT, or not the NXT women's division. I have no reason to rant on that. It's the best division in probably the entire world as far as female wrestling goes. I ranted pretty hard on the AEW women's division because what we've seen on Dynamite is just baffling. how bad it is. It really is just something that needs a lot of work. So if you guys want my rant, for all the fucking people who think I'm on Tony Khan's payroll, I'm not, because I went in pretty deep on AEW last night. So if you guys want me ripping a new asshole into AEW, I think you might enjoy it. Go and check that review out. Everything you need will be linked down below. On top of that, Off the Script Elite on Tuesday and Monday Night Raw review on Monday with Brock Lesnar showing up in the Royal Rumble at number 1. My thoughts on that, we weigh the positives and the negatives on that particular situation. Everything you need is linked down below in the description of this very video. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That is on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you guys so much for all the new followers. We are nearing 30,000 followers on Twitter. We're just barely there. So continue to support on social media. Instagram as well. Same at JD from NY206. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. And if you guys want to support the podcast via Patreon, you guys can certainly do that. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. And the podcast today is brought to you by my good friends over at Tavour. Tavour makes it possible to access and discover the highest rated craft beers. You know I love my cold beverages. The highest rated craft beers from all over the world through their mobile app experience. Featured on CNBC, Men's Journal, USA Today, Fortune, and Bloomberg, we have 100% of an independent community with 650 breweries featured on Tavour. Beers from 47 different states and 7,000 plus beers tasted, man. You download the app. You get access to hard-to-find 100% independent craft beer from across the United States. New beers being featured every single day on their app. Discover your own beer. Build your own custom box of the beers you love, or enroll in a subscription service, and they'll automatically snag the highest-rated beers that suit your taste profile. No minimums or commitments, and they deliver right to your front door. Ship any amount of your hand-picked beer right to your doorstep for a flat fee, or you guys can ship it to your house for free if you sign up with Tavour using a subscription service, man. It is very simple. Use the link down below in the description. Use code SCRIPT at checkout. You guys are going to save on your first box $10 off of a purchase of $25 or more, man. It's a great deal. If you love craft beer, there's no reason why you should not sign up. Tavour, man, they are dealing with craft beer, and you guys know how much I love my cold beverages, and I want to thank them for sponsoring NXT right here on Off the Script. So happy that NXT is back, man. My favorite night of the week, Wednesday, primarily because of NXT. They've been hitting their stride. Some of their best shows have taken place over the past couple of weeks, and I can't wait to see what they do to take it to that next level in 2020. So obviously, coming out of the December 18th show, the last image that we seen from NXT was obviously with Rhea Ripley winning the NXT Women's Championship. So that's what we seen to open the show here last night. We seen shots from the last episode, the last live episode of NXT, and then we got her in the ring to open NXT on Wednesday night. Came out, fans loved her. Fans are chanting, "You deserve it," because she beat Shayna Baszler, who we did not hear of at all on this show on Wednesday night. No mention of Shayna Baszler. No Shayna Baszler appearance. She didn't come out during this segment. She wasn't even mentioned. She's not even a part of the field, the Battle Royal that NXT announced to find out who is next in line for Rhea Ripley's NXT Women's Championship. We'll talk about that in a little bit, which kind of is a solid confirmation that she is definitely getting demoted to the main roster. So Rhea Ripley came out, big pop. Everybody in Full Sail loves her. She looks great. She's just genuinely happy to be there. You know, just by looking at her body language and the way Rhea Ripley is a badass, the way she's smiling, that she is on top of the world right now. So good for her. She deserves it. She recalled the memories of winning the title back on the 18th, beating Shayna Baszler, being hoisted on the shoulders of the fans. Memories she said she will never forget. She started to speak, and she was really trying hard to find the right words. And then out comes Toni Storm. Toni Storm. Oh, sorry. Oh my goodness, man. I'm a little distracted. I was thinking about the segment last night. I'm sorry. Toni Storm comes out, and they have a history. Toni Storm and Rhea Ripley actually have a history. Toni Storm beat Rhea Ripley for the NXT UK Women's Championship. Rhea Ripley was the first NXT UK Women's Champion. The one who beat her for that was Toni Storm, who went on a lengthy reign in her own right. So I have not been paying attention. I have not been upkeeping myself on NXT UK, but I will be watching on Sunday for Blackpool number 2. But Rhea was asked by Toni if she remembers who beat her. She said this weekend she'll become the new NXT UK Women's Champion. She's in a 3-way match with Piper Niven and Kaylee Ray, who's the current NXT UK Women's Champion, and will become a double champion at Worlds Collide. Toni 2 belts is what Full Sail was chanting. Rhea said she wouldn't mind beating her again, so she accepts. Honestly, out of all the matches if that's the way they're going, I did not realize it was going to be a champion versus champion situation. I did not realize that. But I don't think any other way makes sense. Kaylee Ray versus Rhea Ripley for the Worlds Collide show, not really a big draw. And they're struggling to sell tickets now anyway. Piper Niven versus Rhea Ripley, that could be interesting. Piper Niven, listen, I've been watching her stuff. I've been seeing the clips. And I remember her back when she was in the Mae Young Classic. She was one of those women outside of Toni that really impressed me. She was one of my favorite parts of that entire tournament that she was a part of. But the match between Toni Storm and Rhea Ripley, given that Toni is one of the best in the entire company as far as I'm concerned, and that Rhea Ripley is on another planet right now with the way WWE is strapping the rocket pack to her, and the fact that they have history, honestly, I think it makes sense. I really do think it makes sense. Rhea went on to beat Shayna. She's now the NXT Women's Champion. Toni gets that belt back that she originally beat Rhea Ripley for, the NXT UK Women's Championship, and they collide in January Royal Rumble weekend. I think that is a great match, and it makes sense. Tie up those loose ends is what I say. Then this segment became a Monday Night Raw segment. Just riddled with Monday Night Raw isms. Kaylee Ray's music played, and she came out. She said that there's no way she'd win the championship at Worlds Collide, speaking to Toni Storm. Io Shirai's music came out. She came out and she knocked the microphone out of Kaylee Ray's hand. She gets in the ring. She starts yelling in Japanese. She gets in the ring and points to Rhea Ripley's NXT Women's Championship. She doesn't say anything. All she says is mine. She wants the NXT Women's Championship. Bianca Belair's music played and she came out with a microphone. She's got something to say. She's like, oh, girl, I got 20/20 vision, and I can see I'm better than you. I'm better than you, and you don't even go here. She's talking to Toni Storm. You don't even belong here. Like, go back to your own brand. And I'm definitely better than you, pointing to Io Shirai. Candice LeRae's music played, and Rhea was frustrated at this point. Candice got in the ring. Candice didn't even say anything. Rhea took the microphone. She's like, stop. Let me guess, Candice. You want to fight too. So there's a little camaraderie there between Rhea Ripley and Candice LeRae because they were on the winning team at War Games. So Rhea has great respect for Candice LeRae. So she's like, Candice, you want to fight too. So Candice is like, well, everybody else is out here, right? So yeah, I kind of want to fight. I do. So then Rhea Ripley said, you know what? So do I. And then there was a brawl between the baby faces and the heels, and this led to a match that started NXT in the opening contest. I liked the opening segment because of Toni, Clearly, she was the best part of the show, in my honest opinion. But I did not like the way all of this transpired. I just, there's something about it. And I know I might be nitpicky here. I hate it when Raw does it. I hate it when SmackDown does it. So it's not going to be fair of me to give NXT a pass when they do it. I fucking hate it no matter where it is. When you got a promo to start the show and you got said champion in the ring and she's cutting a promo, then someone comes out, their theme music goes off, they come in the ring to interfere, stop the promo, and there's a back and forth. But when you got one person, it's not bad. But when you got 2, 3, 4, 5 other people, theme musics go off, they come out. Theme musics go off, they come out. Theme musics go off, they come out. It's a little ridiculous. I would prefer if the theme music doesn't go off and they just come walking out, just casually. You don't need this grand introduction. It just looks silly. It really does look silly. The match itself was not silly. The match itself was very good. Very fun. And just by looking at this, man, look at the names in this match. And you could see why the NXT Women's Division is on another fucking universe, literally, compared to everybody else in the business right now. Candice LeRae, Toni Storm, Rhea Ripley. That's one team. Then you got Bianca Belair, Io Shirai. I'm not a big fan of Kaylee Ray. She's not bad in the ring. I just don't find anything interesting or redeeming about Kaylee Ray. So just based off what we have in this match and who we have here and the way the NXT Women's Division is looking right now, I mean, it's just top tier. It's top tier. It's vastly different than what we've seen on Dynamite. This is the division. That's a fucking trash heap. So the match began during the commercial break. The heels were dominating in the early portion of the match. So we got a hot tag. LeRae tagged in, leapt into the match. And Mauro Ranallo kept calling Candice LeRae Tenacious C. Like Tenacious D. I wonder what she thinks about that. I don't know. Mauro's up on his music, I guess. So she leapt into the match with a missile dropkick. Shirai cut off LeRae, who they have history with each other. And then the heel team got to Candice. So the heels were back in control here, making quick tags, keeping Candice LeRae grounded in their portion of the ring. Belair got in there. She did what she does best. I can't wait to see her, hopefully move up in the ranks in 2020. She's been there for going on 3 years now. So hopefully she gets that top spot in that top billing. Kaylee Ray with a swanton on LeRae. Very nicely done there. Got a 2 count on that. Toni Storm jumped in to break up the pin. Belair wiped her out with a spear. So we got melees beginning here with everyone jumping into the mix. Soon everybody was laid out. Another commercial break. LeRae was still isolated. Show came back from commercial break. She was still being grounded by the heels in their portion of the ring. But she caught Kaylee Ray with a poison rana, which looked absolutely ridiculous. Belair cut off LeRae from making a tag, sent her across the ring with her hair. When Belair charged into her own corner, LeRae moved out of the way. Shirai instead went flying off the apron. LeRae rolled through and made the hot tag to Toni Storm. She ran wild, clean house on Kaylee Ray ahead of their match on Sunday afternoon, which I will be watching. Not sure if I'm going to be reviewing it yet, but I'll probably talk about it on Off the Script that week. Kaylee Ray was fighting back. Shirai got back in the ring looking to finish the match. She went up top to set up for a moonsault. And the match was proverbially over, but as she was going up for the moonsault, Belair tagged herself in while Shirai was on the top rope. Belair wanted to win the match herself, which I understand. She wanted to show everybody, especially Io Shirai and Candice LeRae and everybody else in the match that's vying for a women's championship match against Rhea Ripley, that she deserves this more than anybody else on the entire women's roster. Belair had Storm in a torture rack when Shirai springboarded into the ring with a missile dropkick on her own partner. She took out Bianca Belair. Io Shirai screamed at Belair. Before bailing out of the ring, Belair turned around, walked into a big boot by Rhea Ripley, followed up by the Riptide, and that was it. Belair was pinned 1-2-3 by the NXT Women's Champion. So the babyfaces got in the ring. They were celebrating. Toni was there. Candice was there. Candice had the NXT Women's Championship, and she was looking at it. She didn't immediately hand it to Rhea Ripley. She was looking at it, gazing at it. Goldie, or the women's version of Goldie. Goldie was looking at her, and she was mesmerized like Gollum looking at the ring in Lord of the Rings. She didn't want to give it to Rhea, but then she gave it to Rhea, and all the baby faces held their hands up in victory here on NXT in the opening match. This was really good. The depth of the women's division is absolutely fucking ridiculous. I have no words for the depth of the women's division in both NXT and NXT UK. Mixing them together, forget about it. It's just unbelievable. But I like what they did here, man. The women's division is the strongest division in the entire brand. NXT UK Blackpool got some shine here with Toni Storm and Kaylee Ray being in the women's match on Sunday there. They were featured in this match. And we got some promotion for Worlds Collide. So they killed 3 birds with 1 stone here. Really good stuff to open NXT. And please, more Toni Storm. I would greatly appreciate it, Trips. Thank you so much in advance. Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic started. This is something that I look forward to every single year come the beginning of the year. It's a staple in NXT. Last year's was fucking phenomenal. I'm expecting it to be just as good, if not better, this year. Imperium, who I think is one of the most underrated teams in the business. I think they are fucking fantastic together. Marcel Bartel and Fabian Eichner of Imperium versus the Forgotten Sons, Wesley Blake and Steve Cutler. This was a first-round match. The Forgotten Sons had an excellent showcase last year. And coming out this year, obviously, I didn't expect them to win this tournament this year. Nobody really expected them to win this tournament this year with the field that they have in front of them. I don't know how any of you guys feel about the Forgotten Sons still. I seen some people on Twitter last night saying that the Forgotten Sons are some of the worst gimmicks that they've ever seen with Riker, Blake, and Cutler. I mean, to each his own. I'm not a big fan of it either, but I don't want that to get in the way of how they work. They might be NXT lifers. This is definitely something that if it got demoted to the main roster, it would be an instant fail because I just envision sanity when I look at the Forgotten Sons. But they might be NXT lifers. If that's the case, then so be it. They are really great at what they do. And so are Imperium. And this match went 5 minutes. They fit 15 minutes of great tag team match into 5 minutes. This was all over the place, man. The one thing I can say about this is it looked like the Forgotten Sons, who've been wanting competition, got competition, and they went out there and they were like, finally, a fucking team that we can work with. Finally, a team that we can show what we're really made of against someone of equal stature here in NXT, man. They wanted to go out there and it looked like they wanted to prove a lot of people wrong about the Forgotten Sons, man. They were just hyped up with the simple fact that, A, the tournament was starting and they got a great tag team opposing them in Imperium. So we got Eichner and Blake to start. Eichner broke his nose and he was wearing a protective mask over his face. So if everybody was wondering what was going on there, no, he's not a fan of Phantom of the Opera. He was wearing a mask to protect his nose. So we got some quick tags by the Sons leading to some quick covers. Obviously, the NXT faithful wants the team of the Forgotten Sons to stay forgotten. So we got a stay forgotten chant. Bartel tagged in. Imperium hit some tandem drop kicks to Blake. And he was draped on the ropes. European uppercut by Bartel. Blake reversed a second one into a DDT, which was nice. Cutler and Eichner tagged in. Backbreaker by Cutler for a 2. Boston Crab by Cutler. Bartel came in to break it up. Like I said, it was fast. It was intense. It was quick. Blind tag by Imperium led to an enziguri. Cutler went for a crossbody on Eichner, but got caught. And then it was just sheer chaos and just full steam ahead to the end of this match. Everyone got involved. Tandem brainbuster on Blake. 4-2 by Imperium. Eichner's face mask came off, so I got a little worried there. Referee tossed it away. Fisherman's driver on Bartel by Blake. Eichner broke it up by slamming Eichner onto them. Bartel and Blake exchanged shots. Eichner tagged in. Spine buster for Blake. And Blake reversed their next move into a tandem move by the Sons. In the corner, Imperium then took control, double teamed on Blake, dumped Cutler. European bomb ended the match, and Imperium goes on to the second round of the Dusty Tag Team Classic. All high-octane shit in 5 minutes here. Like I said, they fit 15 minutes of match into 5 minutes. I would have liked to see a little bit more of a slow-down pace and then pick up the pace as the match gradually goes on, but I understand that they had a lot of other shit on the show tonight, but Imperium. Don't think they're going to win. I do think they get ousted in the second round because they're in the same bracket as the team of Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne. So I do not think that they will be moving on to the finals. So we'll see what happens there. But Imperium is now in the second round. Excellent match for the time limit that they were given in the first round of the Dusty Classic. Speaking of Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne, Kathy Kelly caught up with Matt Riddle and she wanted to know the story behind this oddball pairing of Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne. He did an impersonation of Pete Dunne doing his shrug, and then he showed himself doing his thing, and then he said, "The Broserweights were born." So that was pretty much it. I laughed. I love that, man. The Broserweights. Oddball pairing, but usually these oddball pairings fare the best in NXT, and I can absolutely, after what we talk about coming up with the next match, I can absolutely see Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne winning this entire tournament. That's just my honest opinion. Austin Theory. I praised his match with Roderick Strong on the Christmas episode of NXT. I did not expect to see him back on live TV, and this was a pleasant surprise. He went one-on-one with Joaquin Wilde. This was very quick. Austin Theory wins with a TKO, or his version of a TKO. I don't think he has a name for it yet. But Theory is going to be awesome, and he looks fucking fantastic. I even tweeted him after the match, or after I seen his match on Twitter. He is the future, man. He is an absolute stud. Theory worked on Wilde into a headlock, tossed him around for a little bit, so there was some back and forth. Theory wanted to pop up powerbomb. Wilde blocked that and reversed it. Kicks for Theory. Wilde came off the top with another head scissors. Theory countered and hit a TKO for a victory. And Theory, when the referee raised his hand, he brushed the referee off, so he's working as a heel, which I do think is going to benefit him a lot more. I want him to be a heel. He looks the heel role, that cocky prick, just waiting for that shit to break out. Guy's going to be awesome, man. 22 years old, and he's this good, you know? I'm telling you right now, man, one of the things, and I say this all the time, one of the best things about watching guys like Austin Theory or guys in general at that age, where they're this good already, is watching them grow, watching them mature, watching them expand on what they do in the ring, and just watching them blossom into what you know that they are going to be, and that's a top-level guy in this company. Austin Theory is going to be main eventing NXT, possibly by next year. That's how good he is. This guy's got fucking the world by the balls. You know, I think I have a decent eye for talent. You know, Austin Theory is definitely catching my eye, no question. He looks, I mean, if you put this guy in front of Vince McMahon, I'm telling you, Ronnie, you put him in front of Vince McMahon's going to be getting John Cena vibes from when John Cena debuted. He looks the part, and he's 22. I can't wait to see what this kid does, really. I'm a big fan of what he's doing right now. So that was that. Nice to see Austin Theory on live TV after his impressive match with Roderick Strong on December 25th. Another first round match with the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic continuing. Gallus, the NXT UK Tag Team Champions, Wolfgang and Mark Coffey versus Undisputed Era, obviously, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. Kind of odd. Gallus, I know, are heels. Yet they were working a babyface style in this match. I don't know why, but Undisputed Era, I don't really think... they work a heel style in the ring, but they're babyfaces by reaction in NXT. So I don't know why you just couldn't keep it simple, heel team versus heel team. But Gallus seemed to work a babyface or slight babyface style in this match. But this was awesome. I mean, I didn't expect anything less from these teams. Two tag team champions going at it, which was kind of surprising. I figured that this would be safe for maybe a second round, but it's kind of interesting the way this match ended. And I'll give you my thoughts on that in a second. Gallus was in control right at the beginning of the match. Wolfgang clotheslined Undisputed Era down to the floor. We go to a quick commercial break. Wolfgang and O'Reilly were legal. The legal men, when they came back from commercial, Wolfgang was looking to tag, but Undisputed Era doing what the Undisputed Era does best, cut off the ring. Fish came in, Undisputed Era hit tandem knees to the midsection on Wolfgang for 2. Fish mounted Wolfgang's back, started hitting him with some forearms over the back, but Wolfgang stood up and whipped Fish over. O'Reilly tagged in. He got backdropped. Fish got involved just long enough to break up the hot tag. Finally, Mark Coffey tagged in. He worked over O'Reilly, again with that slight babyface style, which was kind of a little bit of a throw-off. Hit O'Reilly with some uppercuts and a double axe handle. Flapjack for Bobby Fish, who came in charging. Brain buster for O'Reilly for a near fall 2 count. Knees by O'Reilly, Fish tagged in. Knees by both, and Fish covered for a near fall 2 count. Coffey was isolated. Now in the Undisputed Era's corner. They took turns with some charges, but O'Reilly accidentally hit a big boot on Fish to allow a tag to Wolfgang, who made the hot tag. All 4 guys in the ring now, throwing forearms. Chaos between all 4 guys. Wolfgang stood tall. They traded some blows. Undisputed Era bailed, and Wolfgang launched Coffey on top of them. Adam Cole, who came out with the Undisputed Era in the beginning, got involved to distract Wolfgang enough to where Undisputed Era hit high-low on Wolfgang to win, and they advance, beating the NXT UK Tag Team Champions. And after the match, the Undisputed Era posed on the ramp while Gallus was in the ring, defeated and eliminated in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. Now, I don't know what's going to happen at NXT UK Blackpool. I really don't. I would assume that Gallus retains. That's what I would do. Gallus would retain. And we might have gotten a slight spoiler for the Blackpool match with the ending of this match. I did not see the Undisputed Era losing. Even though this was a champion versus champion match, it's kind of tricky to book. I did not see them losing. And the Undisputed Era always has that man advantage here. Adam Cole obviously interjected himself to the point where it was enough for the Undisputed Era to get the cheap victory over Gallus. It was not clean by any means, so that was their out for the NXT UK Tag Team Champions to lose. It was unfair. Adam Cole interjected himself in the match. Undisputed Era advanced, and if it really is, because what we got, or the idea that we got from the opening with Toni Storm challenging Rhea Ripley, it would be champion versus champion. Toni 2 belts. She's going to win the NXT UK Women's Championship, and then she's going to go to Worlds Collide and challenge Rhea Ripley for the NXT Women's Championship. If that is the premise that they're going with, it makes sense that the Undisputed Era win here, because this is more important. You got the Undisputed Era winning here in a cheap fashion. They advance, who I think they'll be in the finals. There's no reason why the Undisputed Era should not be in the finals. And I'll give you that thought in a second. With the Undisputed Era beating Gallus here, if Gallus wins at NXT Blackpool, then we could get a rematch, champion versus champion, and Gallus could win there and get the clean victory over the Undisputed Era. So it'd be a nice little, I'll give you one here, but when come Worlds Collide, we'll get ours then. That's the way I see it happening. I think Undisputed Era is actually going to be in the finals, and they're going to go up against Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne. I mean, it makes sense. Both Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle have history with the Undisputed Era. Just makes sense. That's my thoughts on the Dusty Classic. And I honestly think that's a great takeover match. Pete Dunne is not really in the middle of anything. You could save that for TakeOver Portland. Matt Riddle is not really anything important either. I mean, I just think it works out best for both of those guys as well. What are you going to do with them? Instead of putting them in meaningless matches, put them together, have both of their nothings right now come together, and put them in something important against the Undisputed Era. I think it works out. It should be something really interesting to see develop over the next couple of weeks with this tournament. Johnny Gargano, my favorite guy in NXT. His music played. He came out in street clothes. He was ready to address Finn Balor. He says he's been waiting long enough to talk about Finn Balor. A couple of loud guys were booing. There was, obviously Johnny is cheered majority, but you hear it. You hear it on TV. There's a few scragglers in the fucking crowd that want to be pricks, who think it's cool to boo one of the more over guys in the company. So there were some guys in the Full Sail crowd just kind of egging on Johnny Gargano. He acknowledged Finn for helping build NXT. Said Finn says his future is his past, but his past is still standing because he didn't finish the job. He said in 2016, meaning he didn't finish the job because he DDT'd him on the steel ramp. And he didn't take out Johnny Gargano like he thought he did. So Johnny Gargano's back. Said in 2016, Finn got the call to move on, and he couldn't wait to put the NXT flag down and leave. But in August, he got the same call. Johnny got the same call to move on to the main roster, and he didn't. Because I bleed NXT. Said he picked up the flag. Finn left when he abandoned this place, and Johnny and the fans took it to new heights, which is a shoot. And that's exactly what Johnny Gargano did. He said it eats Finn alive that they didn't need him to succeed. So Finn obviously came out. He's heard enough. He walked down the ramp. We should call you Johnny Promo, because it's the only thing that doctors are clearing you for, says Finn Balor. I laughed. The NXT flag, or the NXT brand, is his chessboard. And what he said is a fact. Johnny is soft. If he wants his moment, he'll give it to him at TakeOver Portland if Johnny makes it that far. What does that mean? We got more than a month to see how this all transpires, but you're booking Johnny Gargano, pretty much confirmed right there. How we get there is now going to be the story. This is confirmed. Johnny versus Finn, take my money, bro. I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. And how they develop this storyline moving on over the next 5 weeks, it's going to be very interesting. Can't wait to see what those two guys do in the ring at TakeOver. And man, if you want a TakeOver match, that is a TakeOver match personified right there with Johnny and Finn Balor. There was an announcement. Now, I thought Kushida's tag team partner in the tournament was going to be a returning Velveteen Dream. I even pitched the idea of Cameron Grimes being his opponent. Couldn't beat him, join him type deal. Earning his respect. But WWE revealed that Alex Shelley, yes, Alex Shelley, Kushida's former tag team partner in New Japan Pro Wrestling as part of the Timesplitters, will be going up against the Grizzled Young Veterans in the first round of their Dusty Tag Team Classic. It is going to be awesome, man. That is fucking awesome. Two-time former IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions. That was a shock, man. I did not expect Alex Shelley to be back in pro wrestling, period. But now he's in the Dusty Classic as part of the Timesplitters. That's a big fucking deal, man. You know, if everybody that was a fan of what they did in New Japan or, you know, what they did, you know, as a team, not even individually with Alex Shelley, who was part of TNA, but what they did in New Japan, if you're a fan of that, it's going to be a big deal. That's a nice little surprise that NXT kind of threw at everybody on last night's show. And a match with the Grizzled Young Veterans, who is definitely, if I was to rank tag teams in WWE, they'd be up there in the top 3. Absolutely. You got Grizzled Young Veterans, you got Imperium, you got Undisputed Era. That's going to be a fucking great match. I can't wait to see what the Grizzled Young Veterans do with Kushida, and I can't wait to see what Alex Shelley does just coming back. I haven't seen him in forever. Who knows how he's going to be in the ring? It's going to be really interesting. It's going to be newsworthy on NXT next week. Should be great for the Dusty Tag Team Classic, and that's what the tournament is about, man. I love these types of things. Mia Yim. She went one-on-one with Kaden Carter. This was nothing more than a win for Mia Yim while still kind of just throwing that little bird seed out there about Kaden Carter. I don't know what they're doing with Kaden Carter. First, they changed her name. Now she's no longer from Winter Park, Florida. I listened to the ring announcement of her name, you know, while she was on her way down to the ring. She's not from Winter Park, Florida anymore. She's now from the Philippine Islands. The fuck are they doing, man? They're going back and forth, and you don't know who she is or where she's from or what she's about. It's like she's a work in progress. Meanwhile, WWE clearly wants to push her, but she's a work in progress. So things are constantly changing about her, I guess, appearance or her background. Change her theme music while you're at it. Sucks. It doesn't really fit the overall vibe of her character. In the Mae Young Classic, it absolutely did. She came out looking like someone from Mortal Kombat. Now they kind of normalized her for whatever reason. I don't know why. I don't like the name change. Lacey Lane was just so much more just impactful. Lacey Lane. Now we got Kaden Carter. Who the fuck is Kaden Carter? Why should I care about Kaden Carter? So this is nothing more than birdseed being thrown out there because WWE clearly wants to push her. They want to feature her. If they didn't have plans for her, she wouldn't be on TV. She'd still be in the PC honing her craft. But this was nothing more than birdseed, Kaden Carter, audience, Mia Yim, easy victory. Mia Yim is still here. We had a couple of lockup attempts to start. This was quick, about 4 minutes or so. Carter tried to roll up Yim, but couldn't get her down. Mia Yim blocked a crucifix and blocked Carter. Palm strikes by Carter. Wrist lock takeover by Carter. Drop kick. Carter couldn't pull off a head scissor takeover, and Yim powerbombed her for 2. Yim threw some hard kicks to a kneeling Carter. Basement drop kick by Mia Yim. Yim did her knee surfboard thingy, but Carter leaned into a 2 count to break it up. Yim chopped Carter in the corner, and then Carter threw some chops and forearms, and then a face palm or a open palm strike with Yim leaning back on the bottom rope. Thrust kick by Carter for 2. Carter came off the top rope, but fell into a protect your neck, and Mia Yim won the match around 4 minutes. After the match, Chelsea Green literally came out of nowhere and took out both Mia Yim and Kaden Carter on the ramp. We seen Robbie E from TNA, or what was TNA. Robert Stone is now his name. Formerly Robbie E in TNA. He stood on the ramp with a suit and slicked back hair, a checkered suit, old school suit, and he was, I guess, what's the best way for me to put this? He was in wrestling terms, he was the Paul Heyman of this situation. He was the Scott Boras of this situation, if you guys know who Scott Boras is. Gets all those big, big money deals for all of his clients in Major League Baseball. Took the microphone and said Chelsea Green is the first member of the Robert Stone brand. This is interesting. I've been seeing a lot from Robert Stone on Twitter at the house shows. He's always tweeting. He's always featuring himself with other talent that has not made NXT TV yet. This could be an interesting development. I honestly think NXT could use something like this. And I've always been a fan of the old school managerial aspect. We don't have enough managers in pro wrestling. And just by the way he looks, I'm intrigued. And I think this could add another element to NXT that, honestly, is a take from the old school applied to the new school, and I do think it will work. Chelsea Green clearly is his first prospect here. Said she is one of the biggest free agent signings that they could have possibly ever made for himself, I think. I don't think that he was talking about NXT, but we haven't seen much of Chelsea Green. And this is a nice introduction to who Chelsea Green is and where she's going to go. She's on TV. Robert Stone made his NXT debut. They clearly have a direction here. So it's nice to see some new characters being developed, a new stable possibly being formed, and that managerial aspect that we really don't see on NXT, hardly, or in WWE, hardly in general. I'd like to see this kind of flourish on NXT. So we'll see what happens there. Nice little deviation away from what NXT normally does. And I can't wait to see what Robert Stone does. So it's a nice introduction to see, the stable being formed, Chelsea Green being there. And everybody thought Chelsea Green was going to be promoted to the main roster. She was working Charlotte on Monday Night Raw. She was working main event as of this week. And I guess they did not call her up. If there's news on that, obviously I'll talk about it on Off the Script. And I'm glad she didn't really get called up because who the fuck is Chelsea Green? They really haven't established who she is or what she is. And this is where she needs to be, to grow. I want to know who Chelsea Green is and what she does in the ring before she moves anywhere. Because that's the whole fucking premise of NXT. Get her in the ring, develop her character. When she's got enough seasoning, then you move her on up. I hope they didn't move her up. I was hoping they didn't move her up. And it's nice to see her here with Robert Stone. They announced for next week a women's battle royal, which will serve as a number one contendership for Rhea Ripley and the NXT Women's Championship. The winner of this battle royal will get a shot at Rhea Ripley at TakeOver Portland. You got Io Shirai in there. You got Shotzi Blackheart that was featured. Dakota Kai is in there. Most of the women that you've been seeing on NXT TV are going to be in this thing. Bianca Belair is in it. Candice LeRae is in it. It doesn't make sense for Bianca Belair to win it. It doesn't make sense for Candice LeRae to win it. It doesn't make sense for Io Shirai to win it. Those are not women that you're going to build up a match with Rhea Ripley and immediately put in a match with Rhea Ripley to ultimately and inevitably lose. Doesn't really make sense. Now, Dakota Kai, clearly the story is with Dakota Kai. And Dakota Kai has played a very good heel on NXT in the women's division ever since turning her back on Tegan Nox. I do think that Dakota Kai does have some retribution coming to her, some revenge coming to her in the form of Rhea Ripley. And the story isn't even in Dakota Kai turning her back on Rhea Ripley and the team at War Games. So if you want to do that and tie up those little loose ends with Dakota Kai, I say go that route. And then move Dakota Kai on to Tegan Nox. It should be more than enough time for Tegan Nox to be out, to come on back and seek revenge on Dakota Kai. That's where that money feud is. So not only do you got that, that's going to be a major women's storyline on NXT TV. After the match with Dakota Kai and Rhea Ripley, you can move her on to that. Then you can really focus on a full-fledged storyline with substance with a Bianca Belair, with a Candice LeRae, with an Io Shirai, or anybody else you want to put in that role for that matter. That's the way I see it. Get the loose ends out of the way, do Dakota Kai, have her win the Battle Royal in some cheap heel-like fashion, do the match at TakeOver, which should be good, and then Dakota Kai can move on to Tegan Nox, and then Rhea Ripley can move on to something a little bit more substantial with some more time to build. So that's the way I would do it there. One thing of note is that Shayna Baszler was not a part of the graphic for the Battle Royal. No mention of Shayna Baszler, which is confirmation, in my eyes, that she will be in the Women's Royal Rumble come Royal Rumble weekend. So that's that. Main event, Keith Lee, Cameron Grimes, Damien Priest, and Dominik Dijakovic in a fatal four-way for the NXT North American Championship #1 contender. This was great. This was really fucking fun, man. Damien Priest, he belongs there. He's got some big wins under his belt. Dominik Dijakovic has been very impressive. He deserved a shot. Cameron Grimes beat Kushida. He deserved to be in there. Keith Lee, nobody's had more momentum outside of Adam Cole on NXT than Keith Lee. So obviously he deserved to be there as well. So clearly you guys know who the Full Sail crowd was behind from the start, Keith Lee. And if Keith Lee did not win this match, I think NXT might have lost a few brain cells. But he did end up winning this match, and it was a great victory for Keith Lee. Lee and Dijakovic teamed up early to kind of, I guess, give everybody a glimpse as to what their history is. So they went and squared off against each other. They did a spot where Dijakovic suplexed Priest into Keith Lee. This was fucking unbelievable. Dijakovic suplexed Damien Priest into Keith Lee. Keith Lee caught him and he was in a powerbomb position. So imagine Dijakovic suplexing Damien Priest. These are not small men. So out of the suplex position, Keith Lee caught Damien Priest in a powerbomb position and started using him as like a fucking battering ram. He used Damien Priest as a battering ram and started swinging him into Dijakovic and Cameron Grimes. Then Lee proceeded to powerbomb Priest on top of Dijakovic. Fucking crazy spot. Crowd gave Keith Lee a standing ovation. And then they were brawling on the outside. Priest did a tope con hero, wiped everybody out, and they went to commercial break. Crazy shit in this fatal four-way match. And that's exactly what I want to see. You want a title shot? Show me. Obviously, they did. So after we got back from commercial break, Keith Lee with a deadlift superplex, I should say. Keith Lee with a deadlift superplex on Damien Priest. And Dominik Dijakovic then moonsaulted onto Lee to break that pinfall up. Crazy shit. Cameron Grimes hit Dijakovic with some kicks. He gave him a German suplex for a near fall, and it was one of them delayed German suplexes into a bridge. Really good stuff there. So Damien Priest is up top with Cameron Grimes. Frankensteiner by Damien Priest on Cameron Grimes into the arms of Keith Lee. Now, this is a similar spot to what they did earlier in the match where Dijakovic suplexed Damien Priest into Keith Lee's waiting arms. Instead of that, now we got Damien Priest doing a Frankensteiner on Grimes into Keith Lee's waiting arms, like a little baby waiting to just caress Cameron Grimes. This time in Lee's arms. It didn't really go anywhere. Dijakovic came from behind and booted Keith Lee right in the midsection. Took Grimes away from Lee. Dijakovic delivered Feast Your Eyes, beautifully done, to take out Grimes. Lee then launched Dijakovic out of the ring with a pounce. Some crazy shit in this match, man. Priest then came up from behind on Keith Lee and delivered the Reckoning, went for a pinfall. But Dijakovic came out of nowhere on the outside and hit a spinning high kick from the outside of the ring to inside the ring because Damien Priest's head was peering through the ropes. So that's where Dijakovic took him out. Priest and Dijakovic then exchanged strikes. They both had each other by the throat in the middle of the ring. And Lee, while this was happening, this is a gimmick that Keith Lee has been playing up, and I love it, man. He comes up, he rises up from depths from behind Dominik Dijakovic and Damien Priest. Lee executed a double chokeslam on both of them. Grimes then came out of nowhere and caught Lee with a running Spanish fly or a twisting crossbody for a near fall. Grimes looked like he was going to go on to win the match. Followed up with a moonsault off the top rope to the floor to take out Dijakovic. Or he took out Dijakovic and Damien Priest. He then took out Dijakovic with a double stomp on the apron. So, even though Cameron Grimes didn't win this match, he looked incredibly strong towards the end of this thing. Grimes then took his time. He leapt off the top rope, only for Lee to chop him down, double chop as he came down out of midair. Grimes tried to strike Lee down with some kicks. Obviously, that did not work. He picked up Grimes, did Lee, for a spirit bomb. And that was the way Keith Lee wins the match and becomes the number one contender for the NXT North American Championship. Keith Lee closed the show standing tall. That was awesome. This was really fun. So things to pretty much take out of this match. Keith Lee still has that momentum. WWE knows what's going on here. Now, they booked this match for the NXT North American Championship in 2 weeks. I don't know what that means. With the momentum that Keith Lee has, I would make the title switch. I really would. I was advocating for Keith Lee to win the number one contendership for the NXT title. But they gave that to Finn Balor instead. So they got Balor out of the way. It was easy because they told the story with Johnny. I would have given that match to Keith Lee. But obviously, NXT and Triple H see more in Keith Lee, and they want to continue that momentum, slowly moving him up the ladder. I would do the title switch in 2 weeks. I would have Keith Lee become the new North American champion. Simple. There's no way I would have him just stay in the same position he's in right now, having Undisputed Era. In fact, if you even want to do this, if you want to prolong the match and have it end by some bullshit finish, and then do the rematch again at TakeOver and give Keith Lee a North American Championship victory at TakeOver in front of a bigger audience, I think that would be great as well. Either way you're looking at this, Keith Lee's going to be the North American Champion by February 16th. If that's not the case, then NXT's doing it all wrong. You can't keep this guy grounded without a championship. You got to show us that the momentum is actually moving him up. You can't keep him in one position. Either way you look at this, Keith Lee's going to be a champion in NXT, which is great for him, and it keeps him on NXT, and he's not moving to the main roster. So you can look at it that way as well. Cameron Grimes, he didn't win the NXT Breakout Tournament. They keep mentioning that he was a part of the NXT Breakout Tournament. And if fucking ACH wanted to have a little bit more patience, he could have been in something like this. But he did not show patience, and he wanted to play to his own agenda. Whether he's right or wrong, I don't really give a shit at this point. Patience. And being a team player. And speaking up when wrongs are done to you in a professional manner. If he followed what he needed to do in the right way, then he would be in the same position as Cameron Grimes. Look at what Cameron Grimes has done coming out of the Breakout Tournament, and he has not. He didn't win it. He hasn't won the tournament. He came up second place. And look at what he's doing. Mingling with the big boys now. Vying for championships. He didn't win this match. He didn't become the number one contender. But just look at that ending sequence of the match, and you can see what Triple H sees in this guy. Big things are coming for Cameron Grimes. And I'm going to be there to be a fan of his when they do inevitably happen. And then Dominik Dijakovic, he is going to get his time. He was hurt for a little bit. He came back. He has been playing a major role. He was at War Games. He's not out of the picture yet either. And I'm sure NXT is going to visit Dijakovic and Keith Lee on a bigger stage, possibly for the North American Championship when the time is right. Everybody here is playing their role. Everybody here is going to be getting their chance. It just goes in the order in which they need to happen. Keith Lee needs most of the attention now because he's got most of the momentum coming out of the Survivor Series, being in there with Roman Reigns, being the last guy standing for his team, going one-on-one with pretty much the face of the company. And then everybody else is falling in line. You see where they stand. You got Damien Priest, who's been on the radar. They're pushing him. They really haven't let go of, pushing him. He's been in high-profile stuff with Pete Dunne and Killian Dane, having great matches. Dijakovic is going to be there. Cameron Grimes, you see the push that Triple H has given to him. He's beaten Kushida. He has a spotlight here in this match. Keith Lee should win the North American Championship. And I honestly think it should happen at TakeOver. If it happens at Full Sail in 2 weeks, I'm not going to complain. I do think Keith Lee deserves that bigger stage. And it's going to be interesting to see how they book themselves out of that and get us to TakeOver if Undisputed Era does get involved. But either way, like I said, Keith Lee needs to win the North American Championship. And I honestly do think, as we see with time moving on, the Undisputed Era's prophecy is not going to be a prophecy anymore. Tommaso Ciampa more than likely is going to be getting the title shot against Adam Cole at TakeOver. Goldie might be coming back home. I don't know how they go about that, especially when you got WrestleMania coming up and NXT TakeOver Tampa. You might want to do that moment there. It's going to be interesting how NXT books these things. I know they got 2 hours of weekly television to fill. You want to get those championship matches out there. You want to make the shows watchable as you count the program AEW. But it's going to be interesting to see how they make their TV shows important, all while making takeovers the more important of the situation. So we got Ciampa and Cole, possibly Lee and Strong, and then Riddle and Dunn, my opinion, against Undisputed Era at TakeOver. That's a pretty solid lineup already for TakeOver Portland. Take my money. It's going to be interesting to see what NXT does moving these stories forward in the weeks to come. Plus, you got the Dusty Classic, you got Rhea Ripley and Dakota Kai possibly. Some good stuff happening in NXT, man. If you're not watching, you're doing yourself a massive thumbs down. NXT is the number one show right now in all of WWE. Has been, and especially on Wednesday nights, I'd give it to NXT. Seriously. They've been putting on some pretty damn good shows, and they need to be watched by more people. All right, enough of me. I'm bullshitting now for no reason. I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm getting out of here. Guys, thank you so very much for all your support. And if you enjoyed the video, please hit that thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell as well. Turn on the bell for all notifications. If you guys want to, go and check out my sponsor for today's video, Tavor. Make sure you guys click the link down below. Use code SCRIPT at checkout. I don't expect everybody to be a fan of craft beer, but if you are, Tavor is your number one spot to get all the craft beer that your hearts can desire. Seriously. Over 7,000 different beers, man. That is a lot of fucking beer. So make sure you guys go and check that out. And make sure you guys follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That's on Twitter and Instagram. And check out the AEW Dynamite review. You guys want me to rant about AEW? It happened on Wednesday night's podcast. Go and check that out. See you right back here for possibly more Luigi's Mansion. And I will see you guys right back here for episode 308 of Off the Script on Friday, right before SmackDown on Fox. Until then, take care, guys. Have a great Thursday, and I'll see you right back here for Off the Script, episode 308.